Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, the CEOs of Rivian and Palantir issue a stark warning about the next decade of human history. The enterprise AI agent wars turn into a cynical gold rush, and we're tracking a massive leap in generative video that has Silicon Valley completely mesmerized. We're doing a deep dive into today's raw newswire, separating the signal from the noise for you.
Yeah, we're parsing just a massive stack of real-time market and cultural data today. Our mission is to basically move past all those surface-level announcements and figure out where the world is actually heading. Who stands to gain incredible leverage, and honestly, who's going to pay the brutal price when all this technological hype meets physical reality?
Right, and if you think AI is just, a software trend confined to chatbots on your phone, RJ Scaringe wants a word with you.
He really does.
Yeah, we are tracking this major shift where artificial intelligence is aggressively breaking out of the digital layer. It's physically crashing into manufacturing and logistics. I'm looking at this post from @MatthewBerman, breaking down a new interview with the Rivian CEO today. And, the stakes that Scaringe is laying out are astronomical.
Yeah.
He flatly stated that the next 10 years will be the most important period in human history.
Which, that sounds like standard Silicon Valley hyperbole until you actually look at the engineering roadmap he just revealed. He isn't talking about, iterative software updates for your dashboard.
Right, like a new Spotify widget.
Exactly. He is talking about completely removing the human variable from physical transportation. The pivot Rivian is making right now is massive.
It is. They're aggressively shifting away from being this sort of niche premium adventure brand to launching the R2 SUV at a $45,000 price point.
Which is a pure mass market play.
Pure mass market.
Yeah.
But the hardware under the hood is the real story here. Scaringe is projecting hands-off autonomous driving by late 2025.
Which is next year.
And then eyes-off by 2026, and full level 4 autonomy by the early 2030s.
Mm-hmm.
And the mechanism they are using to achieve this is what they call a multi-sensor data flywheel.
Yeah, they're fusing high-resolution cameras, millimeter wave radar, and LiDAR into basically a single cognitive engine,
Right.
Which is a massive architectural divergence from the vision-only approach championed by competitors like, Tesla.
Right, because relying strictly on cameras assumes an AI can instantly infer depth and velocity from flat pixels, just like a human eye.
Well, humans get blinded. We get blinded by glare or heavy rain or sudden fog by layering LiDAR.
Well, lasers.
Yeah, the lasers that fire millions of pulses to build a perfect 3D geometric map of the environment. And then radar, which penetrates weather. Rivian is essentially building a deterministic safety net right beneath the AI's probabilistic guesses.
I look at it this way. Instead of just giving the car a pair of eyes and, hoping it eventually learns how to avoid a swerving semi-truck, Rivian is giving the car a complete, multi-layered central nervous system.
That's a good way to put it.
They're optimizing for those bizarre, totally unpredictable edge cases that actually cause accidents. And Scaringe is taking this exact same physical AI philosophy to his non-humanoid robotics firm, Mind Robotics.
Right.
He specifically argued against the whole humanoid robot trend we see everywhere online right now. He makes the case that forcing a robot to balance on 2 legs like a human is just a massive waste of computational energy.
When you can just build diverse, specialized forms optimized for specific manufacturing tasks. But this brings us to the uncomfortable second-order effect of all this efficiency.
The job market.
Always the job market.
Yeah.
If you have multi-sensor autonomous vehicles handling the entirety of global logistics and these hyper-specialized robotic swarms taking over manufacturing, you are completely rewiring the physical labor market.
Yeah.
The broader economic question becomes whether consumer demand can even sustain itself if the labor force is hollowed out. But, the disruption isn't stopping at the factory floor. The cognitive labor market is facing the exact same existential threat.
We see that playing out so vividly in this viral clip today from @TVPN featuring Palantir CEO Alex Karp. Like, if Scaringe is automating the physical world, Karp is out here warning about the total automation of the cognitive world.
Yeah, he introduced this terrifying concept of an economic inversion.
An inversion, right.
Yeah.
He argues that AI is going to effortlessly automate all routine, middle-tier cognitive jobs. In his view, the only people guaranteed a lucrative future are those with hard vocational training or people who are profoundly neurodivergent.
Which, Karp's own dyslexia heavily informs this perspective, but he is pointing to a structural shift in how value is actually created. Standard rote cognitive skill,
Coding.
like basic software coding, drafting legal boilerplate, or synthesizing data reports, those are essentially dropping to a market value of zero.
Because the AI can do it faster and cheaper.
Exactly. Therefore, the people who will thrive are the outliers.
Yeah.
The individuals who utilize artistic, completely unconventional lateral problem solving that a perfectly optimized algorithm just cannot predict.
Wait, I have to push back on this a little bit. Isn't that just a bit overly dramatic? I mean, we've heard the code is dead and knowledge workers are doomed trope for, 3 years now?
Sure.
Yet senior software engineer salaries at big tech are still massive. Aren't these average knowledge workers just going to become AI managers rather than their value going to absolute zero?
Well, that assumes the AI will always require a human manager to prompt it, which is a rapidly closing window. And the data actually supports Karp's extreme view here. We're looking at a 2024 MDPI review tracking corporate productivity, right?
Right.
And it shows that companies like SAP and Karp's own Palantir are recording 30 to 50% higher productivity from neurodivergent hires when it comes to complex pattern recognition and creative strategy.
Wow, 30 to 50%.
Yeah. When the baseline execution is handled by machines, the corporate premium shifts entirely to unconventional thinking. So the uncomfortable question you really have to ask yourself today is, if you consider yourself a highly competent, average knowledge worker sitting comfortably right in the middle of the bell curve, who exactly is protecting your economic value?
Man, that is a brutal reality check.
Yeah.
If the average is exactly what the neural network is trained to replicate, then being average literally becomes the most dangerous place to be in the economy.
Exactly.
But, before we assume AI is going to flawlessly execute this massive cognitive takeover, we do need to look under the hood at the raw infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because the engine room of the AI boom is currently slamming into a massive, undeniable physics problem.
Yeah, a thermodynamic wall that almost no one selling enterprise software wants to publicly acknowledge right now.
Francois Chollet, at Fish the creator of the Keras deep learning library, posted a brilliant breakdown of this today. He points out that current AI architecture is heavily bottlenecked.
Right.
The models are not truly reasoning. They rely on incredibly dense pattern memorization and retrieval. They require humans to meticulously curate training data or design these reinforcement learning environments just to tell them which patterns matter.
Because the models cannot spontaneously generate open-ended logic outside of their training distribution.
Well, exactly.
And let's contextualize the brute force required for that memorization. The human brain, which is capable of open-ended reasoning and lateral thinking, operates on roughly 20 watts of power.
20 watts.
That is the thermodynamic equivalent of a dim light bulb. Training a frontier model like GPT-4 requires gigawatt hours of electricity.
Gigawatts.
We're talking about the energy output of a medium-sized power plant. Biological spiking neural networks fire asynchronously. They only use energy when a specific pathway is activated.
Right, they're efficient.
But current AI transformers, they compute massive, dense matrices of parameters for every single token they generate. Biological systems are operating at an efficiency scale about 10,000 times greater than our best silicon.
It's just wild to think about. So while the foundational hardware engineers are desperately trying to build neuromorphic chips that mimic biological brain efficiency, the software developers are fighting this bitter, chaotic war over how we actually deploy the inefficient models we currently have.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And the debate today is whether we are moving toward one giant omnipotent model or a decentralized web of specialized agents. Peter Levels, known as @Levelcio online, declared the death of specialized agents today.
Yeah, I saw that.
He posted a screenshot of his totally unused custom GPTs and argued that general base models are improving so rapidly that they will simply absorb all specialized instructions. He specifically targeted skills.md files, which are portable markdown files meant to give AI agents specific operational boundaries. Levels thinks the sheer scale of base models makes customized guardrails obsolete.
I will strongly challenge that consensus. I mean, Peter Levels builds incredible lightweight consumer tools, but analyzing this from the perspective of a solo indie developer misses the reality of enterprise architecture entirely. Well, Adjuglioris pushed back on this exact point today, and he highlighted a technology called MCPs, Model Context Protocol. He calls MCPs the USB-C for AI.
I love that analogy. It instantly demystifies what is happening. The AI just plugs in and securely interfaces with the hardware.
Precisely. MCP is an open standard introduced by Anthropic. If you're a massive enterprise like Uber, you cannot simply hand a raw, hyper-intelligent general model your unencrypted internal telemetry and your authentication systems and just, hope it behaves.
Well, it's going to leak everything.
It will inevitably hallucinate or expose sensitive data. Oros points out that Uber runs an internal MCP gateway to proxy thousands of diverse endpoints. The protocol acts as a secure, standardized bridge, allowing the AI to request specific data from internal company servers without ever seeing the fragile underlying API keys.
We actually saw a flawless execution of that structured integration today.
Yeah.
Garretiana shared a post about a CTO who integrated an open source toolkit called GigStack for Anthropic's Claude Code.
Oh, yeah, this was amazing.
Right. The AI was given secure, limited access to their repository via /commands. It took on simulated roles, like a QA engineer and a senior code reviewer.
And it managed to catch a vulnerability that a human engineering team was entirely blind to.
Yes, it found a subtle cross-site scripting attack buried deep in the code. And the reason a human missed it is fascinating. Cross-site scripting vulnerabilities rarely look like glaring errors in a single line of code.
Or they're scattered.
They hide in mundane, disjointed logic streams across multiple different files. A variable accepts input in one file, gets passed through a sanitization function in another, and eventually renders in a DOM element somewhere else.
A human reviewer just loses the thread across those jumps.
Exactly. But the AI agent holding the entire repository architecture in its massive context window spotted the loose thread instantly. The CTO called it God mode.
It is a phenomenal success story for enterprise AI auditing, but we really need to pivot to the cynical reality of the consumer market.
Let's be real here.
Because for every highly structured, secure MCP integration at Uber, there is a completely unregulated, chaotic market exploiting the exact same agent technology. At upeng_UW posted a breakdown of an absolute debacle unfolding in China right now with an open-source AI agent called OpenClaw.
This story is unbelievable. OpenClaw went incredibly viral, triggering massive FOMO among small businesses. Entrepreneurs were literally walking door to door, charging companies $80 in cash just to install this open-source agent on their local machines.
Which is pure arbitrage of technical ignorance.
Pure grift.
But the architecture of OpenClaw was incredibly insecure. Within weeks, massive vulnerabilities were exploited, API keys were leaked to the public internet, and prompt injection attacks allowed outside actors to hijack the agents. The businesses went into total panic. So the market reacted. The going rate to uninstall OpenClaw rapidly stabilized at $50.
It's literally like paying someone to release a rabid raccoon in your living room because all your neighbors have one, and then a month later, paying that exact same person double to come back and catch it before it destroys your house.
Yeah.
Because Yu Jin confirmed that the entrepreneurs running the $80 installation businesses are the exact same people running the $50 emergency uninstall businesses.
Right.
It is the ultimate encapsulation of unregulated tech FOMO.
We are deploying autonomous agents vastly faster than our ability to secure, monitor, or even understand them.
But the reason we're deploying these agents so recklessly is because the foundational mathematics driving them forward is moving at a pace that feels genuinely alien.
It really does.
We have to look at what Demis Hassabis, the Nobel laureate and head of Google DeepMind, posted today about a new system called AlphaVolve. It just autonomously invented novel search procedures to improve the bounds for 5 classical Ramsey numbers.
Which huge.
For context, some of these mathematical bounds haven't seen a single advancement since 2015.
And to understand the magnitude of this, you really have to understand extremal combinatorics. Ramsey numbers represent the mathematical search for guaranteed emergence of order within chaotic networks.
Right.
Imagine a massive chaotic party. A Ramsey number seeks to prove the exact mathematical point where you are guaranteed to find a specific clique of people who all know each other or all completely ignore each other. Finding these exact values for large networks is computationally devastating.
And AlphaVolve didn't just crunch numbers faster to find the answer. It used LLM-guided code mutation. The AI essentially acted as both the visionary programmer and the compiler. It evaluated its own algorithmic instructions, recognized its own inefficiencies, and mutated its own code in real time until it found a mathematical shortcut a human mind would never dream of.
Wow.
It's like building a car engine that doesn't just drive you to your destination, but autonomously paves an entirely new frictionless highway while the tires are spinning.
And Google DeepMind, at Google DeepMind explicitly tied this breakthrough to their institutional history today. They were celebrating the 10th anniversary of AlphaGo. 10 years ago, they mastered game logic by beating Lee Sedol.
Right.
That architecture evolved into AlphaFold, which mapped 200 million protein structures. Now, game mastery has evolved into autonomous mathematical discovery. The foundational science is breathtaking. But as a market analyst, I always return to the same brutal question.
How does it make money?
How does Google actually monetize a combinatorial math breakthrough today, especially when they are losing search market share?
They monetize it by sprinting to own the mobile endpoint before Apple Intelligence locks them out. At official Logan Kay, a technical staff member at Google AI Studio, posted a public, frankly desperate recruitment call today for a staff software engineer to lead their Android development.
Yeah, the timeline on that was crazy.
The hard deadline for the project is exactly 67 days, which places the launch squarely at Google I/O. They are moving mountains to get native Gemini developer environments directly onto billions of Android devices.
Because if you control the local hardware environment, you control the context of the user's life.
Exactly. And we are seeing how Google plans to leverage that context with a major update reported by @Min Choi today. Google Maps just received its biggest architectural upgrade in over a decade with a feature called Ask Maps.
And the way they're handling the AI hallucination problem here is brilliant.
It really is. Instead of letting the generative model invent local recommendations from its latent space.
Which inevitably leads to users being directed to non-existent restaurants.
Exactly. Ask Maps aggregates real, verified tips from their 2 billion human users. It parses through photos, reviews, and specific human advice to tell you exactly where to stand to get the best photo of the Eiffel Tower, or which specific table at a cafe is the quietest. They're using the AI simply as a sophisticated routing layer for human authenticity.
It is a deeply strategic defense mechanism. Google understands that absolute trust is the only currency that matters in consumer AI right now. A hallucinated poem is funny. A hallucinated driving route into oncoming traffic is a catastrophic liability.
Well, while Google attempts to tightly tether its AI to verified physical reality, the rest of Silicon Valley is perfectly happy replacing reality entirely.
Oh, yeah.
That brings us to our final cultural segment today. Generative video is currently blurring the line between computation and photorealism. At OpenAI Devs officially announced the Sora 2 Video API today. It allows enterprise developers to generate 20-second clips, export natively in 16.9 or 9.16 for social platforms, and run massive batch jobs.
Yeah.
They showcased a demo where a brand took a simple 4-second clip of a physical energy drink and used the API to explode it into an entire cinematic advertising campaign.
However, buried in their API documentation is a massive, highly enforced restriction. Sora 2 strictly forbids the generation of human subjects.
Which is huge.
OpenAI is terrified of the regulatory nightmare surrounding deepfakes, unauthorized celebrity likenesses, and election interference. They want this tool used for rendering soda cans and establishing landscape shots, not humans.
But the open market does not care about OpenAI's safety guardrails. A user named Iwanglu posted a demo today of the new Grok Imagine model, and its prompt adherence is terrifying.
It's insane.
They generated a video of a woman in a red dress carrying a pink handbag, wearing rose gold headphones, walking past a man who looks exactly like Elon Musk, who is standing next to a Cybertruck on a futuristic street on the planet Mars.
That is 7 highly specific, disparate elements in a single prompt.
7 elements. And as the virtual camera dynamically tracks around the scene and the sunset lighting reflects off the Cybertruck, every single element remains perfectly photorealistically consistent.
Yeah.
A year ago, AI video would inevitably melt. The red dress would warp into the handbag, the headphones would morph into the background. Grok Imagine has seemingly locked the latent space entirely.
What you're describing is temporal coherence, and it is the holy grail for generative filmmaking. Diffusion models traditionally struggle with time because they are constantly regenerating frames from random noise. Achieving true temporal coherence means the model genuinely understands the 3D spatial relationship of the objects it is rendering, rather than just guessing what the next pixel should look like.
Right.
But while professional studios will absolutely exploit this for sci-fi fashion shoots, we're seeing a fascinating debate about what this means for childhood development.
Yeah, Deborah, under the handle @Veraver, sparked a massive debate today by sharing a beautifully animated AI-generated video of colorful octopus characters underwater.
Sure.
She actively advocated for parents to use Grok Imagine's Kids mode.
Which aggressively filters out explicit content to comply with privacy laws, yeah.
Right. She wants parents to use it to teach their children AI animation from a young age. Her argument is that these children are inheriting an AI-centric economy, so they must build creative fluency now. She cited a 2025 PMC study indicating that utilizing AI art tools significantly improves a child's ability to rapidly iterate complex ideas.
I will aggressively challenge the premise of that study. Are we actually building creative fluency, or are we permanently outsourcing human imagination to a server farm?
That's the big question.
Traditional creativity requires friction. When a child struggles with a physical pencil to make a 2D circle look like a 3D octopus, that neurological struggle is what builds internal spatial reasoning. If they can just dictate a prompt to a machine, they never develop the fundamental cognitive architecture required to understand visual logic. They become editors of content rather than creators of meaning.
So where does this cultural collision end up? We have children animating octopuses with prompts, enterprise developers rendering endless energy drink ads, and autonomous networks rewriting the laws of combinatorics. Mark Andreessen at PMarca captured the prevailing mood of Silicon Valley perfectly today. He shared a video by a visual artist named Ed Heavypulp. It is this explosive, dystopian, cyberpunk AI montage splicing retro 1950s film clips with hyper-futuristic, melting machinery.
I saw that.
The video's tagline is, "Everything is computer, but the computer isn't everything." Andreessen openly declared it the best thing he has ever seen.
It is the ultimate expression of the effective accelerationism philosophy dominating the tech sector right now. There is no longer any fear of the dystopian aesthetics of AI.
No, they love it.
The capital class is actively leaning into the explosive, unpredictable chaos of digital creation. They view the computer eating our physical and visual reality not as a threat, but as a beautiful evolutionary inevitability that must be accelerated at all costs.
It is genuinely wild to see one of the most powerful investors in the world hyping up a video that basically celebrates the dissolution of reality. But scanning today's wire, from Rivian systematically removing the human driver, to Palantir predicting the cognitive inversion, to AlphaVolve independently solving 10-year-old math problems, it is becoming mathematically impossible to argue that the computer isn't eating reality.
Which leads directly to my prediction for tomorrow's market. If we synthesize the trends from today, particularly the $80 installation debacle of OpenClaw in China and the rapid integration of enterprise MCPs, the next massive influx of capital will not go toward building new foundational AI models.
Really?
We have enough intelligence. The next massive tech bubble is going to be AI security auditing.
Yeah.
Companies are suddenly realizing they have recklessly plugged alien intelligence directly into their internal data structures. We are going to witness a desperate, panicked scramble to regulate, monitor, and secure these autonomous agents. The exact same individuals who were paid $80 to install the AI yesterday will pivot, rebrand themselves as enterprise risk consultants, and get paid $500,000 to audit and secure it tomorrow.
The ultimate cynical arbitrage.
Yeah.
Build the weapon, sell the weapon, then sell the bunker to hide from the weapon. It makes perfect economic sense.
It really does.
And that leaves us with one final provocative thought to navigate your day. We open this deep dive with Alex Karp's stark warning that the value of standard rote cognitive skills is crashing to zero, and that neurodivergence, the ability to think laterally and entirely outside the box, is the new baseline for survival.
Right?
Today, we watched a machine autonomously mutate its own code to solve extremal combinatorics, flawlessly direct a complex sci-fi tracking shot, and securely audit an enterprise repository for cross-site scripting flaws. If the algorithmic machine is rapidly becoming the ultimate flawless generalist across both art and mathematics, well, what happens to the societal concept of a well-rounded human being?
Yeah.
If you can no longer build a career on being relatively good at a variety of standard tasks, are you prepared to become a radical hyper-specialist or completely unconventional, just to remain visible in the next decade?
A decade that RJ Scaringe explicitly warned will be the most consequential in human history. The pressure to adapt is absolute.
A heavy reality to carry, but vital context to have. That is all for today's analysis. We will be back tomorrow to track the raw wire, break down the mechanisms, and keep you ahead of the curve. Goodbye, and stay curious.
Until next time.